So welcome to this review and preview of the English Premier League that I'm trying to do on a weekly basis, and I've done so over the past weeks. What we see here are the results from matchday 10, the one that went by last weekend, starting 30th of October, and last match was played on Monday night, Wolves against Everton. I wouldn't say my prediction had been any good. Tool calculations compared to market. We can easily see here that the computer thought chances for Wolverhampton to win had been lower than market assumed, but they did win. If we look at the stats, we can check out if we think it had been a deserved win. If we can look at the stats over the whole campaign so far, and then we could study there a bit better, and we can even improve this within the tool to turn these stats into the should goals, what I call them. But it takes a little more time. Still, now we have to read them and try to interpret them. If I see 14-10 shots for Everton, and I would say, or 5-4 on target, and maybe we look at the dangerous attacks, they are pretty even attacks, total attacks, slight edge for Wolves, okay. And the corners 4-3, so very small possession time, that's 62%, so I changed my mind a bit, because the shot stats are good for Everton, while the attacks and corners and possession are in Wolves' favor, so they had been the better side, which also the computer in fact suspected or expected. At least maybe it had been a bit closer, or also market had been right. I mean, if we, of course, we can look into at it in much more depth and detail, or just skip it and say, okay, we lost one. People that watched it may have come to different results. At least Everton had not been outclassed, I would say, right? In Eston Villa against West Ham, it's a similar story. Market was not fully relying on West Ham's very good campaign and excellent shape. And they did win, and looking at the stats, 9-21, 3-9, they obviously had been the dangerous attacks 40-41. Still, it looks like a computer was wrong here, expecting it to be pretty even, and West Ham had been a clearly better side. So my tool was wrong here. Or wrong, I mean, I was a bit apart from market, and market was better here. In Norwich against Leeds, of course, we were discussing this, whether or not we would give Norwich a fair chance. And 14-13 shots, 3-6 on target. We look at the dangerous attacks in favor of Norwich. Corners 5-0. So I would say they had been unlucky. So in this case, computer was also a bit leaning towards Norwich, not by much. The 600 here you have to forget, because that's we're getting in live prices, and of course when Norwich were trailing, this was the maximum price there was, 600 to 1. Still we can read it here, 233, and 220 was the maximum, so I was close to market, but market was still a bit better maybe. In Tottenham, Manchester United, same story, whereby the true price here was pretty okay compared to the maximum. Manchester United was an easy win. Tottenham continuing their somewhat bad run, 9-10 shots, 0-4 on target, dangerous attacks. Okay, they had been clearly in favor of Tottenham, 66-32 and 10-1 corners, also telling partly the story that maybe a bit misleading this result. In Burnley, Brentford 3-1, Same story here. The computer is always higher, a bit higher on the event that did occur. And did they deserve it? 17-13, 6-4. Okay, attacks 121, 100, dangerous attacks 41, 30, 33. Small edge to Burnley, which had not been considered to be favorites by the computer, while market was pretty even on this game. So I was wrong again. In Liverpool-Brighton, this is the exception because the computer proposed the X, and with a one such result getting right, you are already pretty happy and covering up for all the bad predictions, right? Here it looks pretty okay, 59-4-6 attacks, of course in Liverpool's favor, but not by this much. 5-3, also the corners, not by this much. Possession, we can look 58-42, so here computer was better than market, I could say. Manchester City lost their home game. We had a 118 here, we had a 28.25, maximum was 26, so there was no proposal on Crystal Palace. All the top sides struggling at the moment. Looks a bit like 49-4-4 and so on. Dangerous attacks, of course, clearly in favor of Man City. Corner 7-1. Well, it looks like the shots were pretty okay for Crystal Palace, and of course a 118 price is a very low one. So in this case we can say computer wasn't wrong, it just happens. It didn't suggest as much on this game. And the outsider won with a very low chance, less than 4%. Newcastle against Chelsea, we had this story again with maybe computer thinking Newcastle would have a chance, 8-20, 1-8, or a slightly better chance than market market thought. Dangerous attacks. It looks all pretty much on Chelsea's side. 2-0 corners. Of course, they were expected to be much better. If we would calculate those stats into goals, that should goals, as if X goals, but the different algorithm that I use, then maybe we can analyze this even a bit better in the future. Same thing here, Watford, I said maybe they are not going to lose the game. They did lose it. And 11-12, 4-1 on goal. Dangerous attacks 48-53. Corners 5-8. 39-61. So it looks like a small edge to Southampton. I was pretty even. Market said they have a bigger edge. I mean, they are all of the same character. And it always turned out to be market to be better. Same thing with the Leicester-Arsenal, where I looked at the stats already, 15-9, 8-5 attacks, dangerous attacks. They are all in favor of Leicester, but Arsenal were ahead pretty early on. That's why 2-0 at halftime already. So what can I say? The computer was not so good in this case, or the Betmaster tool with my settings, but it seems to me that they all went the same way, right? Usually there would be one or two at least with somewhat different results, because not always the side to be considered the slightly better and even having stats, they wouldn't usually win all the games. Okay, anyway, we still have a look at match day 11, and we compile the prices or recompile them or do them from scratch. I'm trying to compile this, not to study this too deeply. Of course, West Ham well respected now. If I look at this price compiled in August, so that's way back, we will have different values here. Of course, Liverpool will be clear favorites. I would figure, yeah, West Ham very good run. So it's the 165 sounds like a decent price, or 160, 155, 160. Yeah, West Ham are very good, something like that. Arsenal, Watford, well, Arsenal won again, so pretty good run. Now Watford, they lost at home to Southampton, so this will be 145 maybe. Everton Tottenham, I'm trying not to look there. Over there, Everton, well, both struggling a bit. Is it even? Tottenham slight favorites still, should be very small favorites, I guess. Leeds against Leicester. Leicester will be favorites. They played pretty okay, but results are not so good. So it should be somewhere around 2.0, 2.10 maybe, but maybe even below, something around 2.0. Brighton against Newcastle will be a 1 170, 165 only. Maybe Brentford Norwich should be close to 2.0, 190 maybe. Chelsea Burnley will of course be 120 maximum, 118 I figure. Crystal Palace Wolves, I'm not looking over there. Crystal Palace Wolves will be very slight favorites. They should be favorites, 230 maybe, 225. Manchester United, Manchester City, I can't do that. Pretty even. Manchester City will be favorites, over 2.0 I guess. Midweek Champions League, both playing. Manchester United, well, I'm not talking about the games, it's Wednesday. Southampton, Eston Villa, it should be Southampton favorites 2.10 maybe. So I'm gonna compile the prices. If you remember what I said, this is more or less a mixture of market and my assessment. And is it very close to what we had before? 171, so I was around 165. Arsenal Watford, I was going down to 150, 145 even market. Maybe their computer says still not perfect. Tottenham, very slight favorites. I was a bit lower on them, but struggling. They are both struggling. Leeds against Leicester. Can I make this higher here? No, I shouldn't do that. Because it seems to me it's a bit quiet, right? Is it? Okay. Everton, okay, it's only slight, small favorites. Computer says, we will see what market thinks. Leicester City over 2.0. Okay, I was there somewhere around 2.0, 2.10. Brighton, okay, that's ridiculous. 2.16 looks like just a bad price. I was 175. This seems to be much more like it. Brentford Norwich, I was also 165, 170. What did I say? Something like that, right? Chelsea Burnley, of course, computer 130. Yeah, I was 120. That's average 123. Okay, fine. Crystal Palace, Wolves are favorites, but very small favorites only. Maybe market agrees even here, or even makes Crystal Palace favorites. Manchester United, tough one, 212. Okay, I was, it should be over 2.0. Southampton, Aston Villa, pretty even. No, sorry, I was 2.10. Also, computer is a lot higher. Maybe not quite agreeing with market. But now we will compare this with market prices, and I'm gonna move my coupon here, and where are we? Premier League. Okay, let's go and check out what prices we got. Oh no. So I'm gonna check here. It doesn't. Okay. So what? I was going the wrong way. Okay, this is bad order here. Sorry for that. Still, we're talking about the same games. So I was right with the 2.10 because I was figuring this is the price, but I may consider now still to go with Aston Villa. That's what the computer would somehow closely propose here. The 360, Aston Villa out of shape. Here we would have to go 1x with Manchester United. This I find it ridiculous. This is just too low, the price. I mean, Manchester City may be the better side, no doubt. They may be clearly better side, but not a 173, not in this derby, because Manchester United showed what they are capable of. Not a lot. What is the difference in the table? We can check out this as well, of course, and also look at the stats here. We can show the table. Manchester City 20 points, Manchester United 17 points. Okay, +4 against +14 looks like a bit of a difference. I have to correct myself, but we can check out the total shots, 180, 160. Well, there's a small edge to Manchester City, but of course it's not this much, and in this derby it should be a bit closer together, right? So I would propose here 1x Asian handicap, right? Brentford against Norwich. Okay, computer would still say Norwich, give them a chance. This is like Greuther Fürth. I mean, they are just losing their games and can't do much about it. What do we see in the stats? 96. Yeah, okay. They are not really competitive. And with just 1 point after so many games, no, they have 2 points. Well, this looks like pretty hopeless for them. And so why would I give them another chance? But Brentford also slowly went down a bit, right? But when is the time for I mean, we can check here the relative form. Okay, I was wrong. Brentford, I was wrong with Burnley. Brentford, of course, they are still all in blue. Well, that's what you have to check, right? This is a plus. All those stats are in their favor, are better than expected. And vice versa, or the opposite for Norwich. You can check out a lot more here. They have too many points, they have too few. So I wouldn't. I mean, it's just too much, too many losses. And computer is still, this is a 161. So the computer wouldn't even say a lot about this one. I was completely wrong with the games here. I mean, I thought Brighton, Newcastle, and this is Brentford. I get mixed up sometimes, Brighton and Brentford. Both very, very good, well respected. They promoted, they stayed there, but overperforming somehow, and BR to start with their names. And Chelsea 127, so I'm surprised a bit. That market is a bit higher. We were in 130, so no bet there. Crystal Palace even giving them the edge. Okay, I will accept that if they say so. A computer still says very small edge to Wolves. Well, can't see this much wrong with it. But if market still relies on Crystal Palace being a bit better than they played, I can't argue too much, right? It's not a real indication. We would have the indication on the draw. That would be the indication, but only marginal. So whatever it is, it doesn't help us too much. And the Brighton one, this is the one we should talk about. But once again, market always says Newcastle are awful, while I always supported them in some sense and was pretty doing okay with it. But they are not performing this season. So 4 draws, only 6 losses, as we saw. So that's and Brighton are just cruising. Of course, we can check out this one as well. They are minus 6.24. They are plus 4.18. I mean, this is just too much. If you want to adjust here and see how these adjustments take their toll or have their effect, we go 30% better, 10% less. This is not too much that we are adjusting here, and then we would kind of remove the bet already. Computer would still say, well, you can try with a draw if you get a decent price here with a 4.02. Well, I mean, I wouldn't too much argue against it. Why not? Why shouldn't be Newcastle be able to win a point maybe there? But market doesn't think too much. But if you want to interpret what it thinks, it is people say they are awful, I bet against them, and that's why the prices go so low. What we have to say is they are not that awful. and usually computer says go with the outsiders. 113 shots, 31 on target. Doesn't look promising. It just doesn't look competitive, right? We don't see here the corners are 41. Well, they outclass Norwich by 2. Crystal Palace also less corners. Everton, even Brentford. So that's not that bad, but it's just single stats here. 384, even less possession than Norwich. who are even a game short here. I don't know why. Sometimes we're not getting the proper stats maybe. And goal attempts, we can have a look. That's 73. Looks like competitive. There are worse sides than that. I mean, so we know what it means to confidence these days. If you see teams on a bad run and others on a good run, it is at the moment, it seems to me, a bit more than it used to be. I also have my reasons. I observed the football over 30 years, and I always think about it. But you have to be careful not to over-interpret things. But what my interpretation of this development somehow is that this confidence they are trying to boost and build up, and they try to rely on this rather than on abilities. So they are more into mental coaching than real exercising on the training ground, right? You have to boost your confidence and somehow keep it going, and that's what they are trying to exercise, even with the mental coaches and so on. And so it means you carry forward a good run while you have a hard time to find your way out of bad times and bad runs. And this affects also the supporters and also the coaches getting pressure from everywhere, that they tend to look too much at the results and not at the effort. And if they do so, they kind of favor this prolonging of the runs, because if you would just we played a good game, we lost it, okay, then people would say, okay, it's fine, let's see what happens next week. If they play well and lose and still get this trouble from all over the place or from everywhere, why did you lose again, what are you doing wrong, and so on, then they start to change things, which is maybe not advisable. And so it all keeps this tendency of extending those runs. And this is a long-term observation that I'm making, not concluding it from single results or a run over one campaign. But I still have to keep that in mind, because I keep repeating that and also referring to that. So, and market, of course, punters at the market, they usually go with a trend. And if this trend is stronger, then we are having a harder time with this tool, which is rather relying on long-term developments. Still, if the trends are going faster, we still have the chance to adjust our update factor and make this react quicker. And because if we confirm this tendency, then okay, that's the story about this. Arsenal, Watford, I was saying already, computer is higher here, but Arsenal now with a good run, extending it 144, 171 looks like a bit too much. It would propose us to go with Watford. We can have a similar thing, but Watford are still doing okay. Kind of. We didn't expect them to be a lot better. But the good run of Arsenal, that's the problem. Arsenal are even ahead now with 1.81 points, 17. I didn't rate them so well, while Watford are just slightly behind. And so it doesn't mean awful for this proposal. But I think the 2-0 win and the loss, on the other hand, by Watford makes this price a bit lower. And of course, if those big teams start to win, then people instantly support them. And West Ham leads Leicester. We had a slight edge also to Leicester. It was in agreement with the market. Also in Everton Tottenham, we did have full agreement. And also in the Liverpool, I think we were in full agreement. The 173 would even slightly be indicated if this is the maximum price. Of course, the same story here. West Ham, very good run, very good win. Liverpool not winning their game. And midweek action. So just very, very marginal indications. And usually the computer would say, there, go with the outsider still. I was explaining all this there with the team on the bad run. But right, this is usually the tendency the computer advises us to, but we are not doing so well with this tendency at the moment. This is temporarily also in England, but I was trying to explain also that there is a kind of a long-term trend of that there may be some reason behind that. So I'm not that happy with it, but I hope you still can make use of this and understand how difficult it is to beat the market. The prices on the teams on a good run are usually too low, so I would disadvise you to go with them. If you dare, go ahead, try your luck. Anyway, leave your likes, your comments, subscribe to my channel, check out the tool. You will get instant access, and ask me if you have any questions how to handle this. You get my evaluations with the tool as soon as you sign up. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.